Question. If prior to our embodiment, we make a strict divine plan that forces us to deal with certain unresolved aspects of our psychology, but it does so by forcing us into extremely painful experiences that we are not able to recover from for decades, do we make negative karma with ourselves by all the deep sense of loss, pain, and sorrow that arose as a result of those painful experiences? So the background for the question is, you can only understand it when you realize there's reincarnation. So before we came into this embodiment, if we're spiritual people at least, we meet with our spiritual teachers, the Ascended Masters, and we make a plan for this coming lifetime, based on our past lives, based on our unresolved psychology and a lot of different factors. And so there are two aspects of the plan. One is, what do we want to do, a contribution we want to make to the world, but the other is resolving psychology. Because the psychology blocks us from bringing the gift we're here to bring. So what the person is asking, and what I've said in several videos, is that when we are up there making our divine plan, we have a broader perspective than we have once we are in embodiment. Because now it's like we are looking out through all this filter of the outer personality, the identity, mental, emotional bodies. So when we have the broader perspective, we can say, if I am to, for example, qualify for my ascension at the end of this lifetime, this coming lifetime, or if I'm at least going to make maximum progress towards it, I can see that I have to overcome a certain hang-up in my psychology. But I can also see that for the last couple of lifetimes, I didn't want to face it. I didn't want to deal with it. But this time, I really want to get over it. So now I'm going to put myself in a situation where I'm confronted with people that are bringing this up in me, this unresolved psychology, for example, causing me to react to certain people. And so that it becomes so intense that I'll simply have to deal with it because I can't stand it otherwise. And it's possible. There are people who can make that kind of a life plan. You are really forcing yourself, but it is your own choice. So it's not a violation of your free will. Even though once you're in embodiment, you can feel like it is, because your higher awareness free will seems to limit your lower awareness free will, if you can say it that way. So anyway, what I'm saying is that I understand what the person is saying. You know, you force yourself into these extremely painful experiences that we are not able to recover from for decades. And that has happened to people. I think I did this to myself, even though I wouldn't say it was as extremely painful, and it didn't take me decades to recover. So I haven't done it to the extent that I've seen other people do it. But, and so the person is asking, do we make negative karma with ourselves by all the deep sense of loss, pain, and sorrow? And I understand what the person is thinking, but I would say that, well, it depends a little bit on what you do with it, of course. Because you could say, you're up there making your life plan. You see, for the last couple of lifetimes, there was a particular hang-up in your psychology. You didn't want to confront it. You didn't want to deal with it. So now you're saying, this time I'm going to put myself in a situation that's so painful that I have to deal with it. But this is, of course, a little bit of a gamble. Because once you are in the body and confronted with this outer situation, you could still choose to ignore it. You could still choose to do what you have done in a couple of past lifetimes. So it is a little bit of a gamble. And therefore you could say, if it doesn't pay off, if you don't want to look at yourself, if you don't overcome that in your psychology, but instead you're very traumatized by it, then you can say, yes, you do make karma with yourself by the negative energy you're directing at yourself. Because you also have to find an excuse for why you don't have to look at this. And that means you're projecting some limiting matrix onto yourself. So in a sense, yes, you could end up making more karma and solidifying your denial of this problem. It could happen. But think about it this way. if you can ask this question, you are not in the state of denial, or you wouldn't be willing to ask the question. You wouldn't even think about it. You'd just be projecting out that it's other people's fault. So what I'm always saying is that it's never too late to learn a lesson. And that means that you can now, if you suspect that you put yourself in a difficult situation, you can look at the situation, you can use all kinds of therapies, you can use the Ascended Master teachings and tools to process the experience, to transmute the negative energy by invoking spiritual light, to come to see the separate self that you needed to see that's at the bottom of this psychology. And quite frankly, if you do that, you can very, very quickly dissolve the karma you made with yourself. Very quickly. It's never too late. That's the whole basis of this teaching, the Ascended Master teaching. It's never too late. You can always learn a lesson. And so now let's say a person doesn't learn the lesson while in embodiment, but goes out of embodiment. Well, the person can still learn it in between embodiments, because as many near-death experiences show, when you go out of embodiment, you often have a life review. And part of this life review is you can see, what didn't I learn in my psychology? But now take note of this, it's in your psychology, right? And your psychology you take with you after the physical body dies. So you can still work on your psychology before your next embodiment. So again, it's not necessarily wasted, even if you didn't learn the lesson. So I'm just trying to say here is that, of course I understand that when it's been very, very painful, it's difficult to look at situations. But no matter how painful it's been, there is a potential that you can process it, learn from it, and therefore use it to grow. And that means that your original purpose for putting yourself in this situation can be fulfilled, even if it's decades later. You know, painful experiences that we are not able to recover from for decades. Yes, but if you can process it and learn from it now, it's not wasted, and you can very quickly overcome whatever karma you made with yourself. It's like, you know, you can look at karma in two ways. You can look at it in a purely mechanical way, where you say, okay, so for several decades you were very burdened by this experience. You misqualified a lot of fear-based energy, anger, shame, guilt, whatever, you projected at yourself. So there's a certain pool of energy there. But it was all because you were trying to force yourself to learn a lesson. And so if you learn the lesson, it's like the karma isn't as severe, and it's very likely that the Ascended Masters who are working with you will dissolve some of that karma for you, because now that you have learned the lesson, there's no reason you should be burdened by the energy. So it's not such a bleak picture. I understand that when you have been deeply burdened by something for a long time, it seems that way, but I'm just trying to say it's not nearly as bleak. And if you can just shift into this positive, taking a more positive approach to it, and being willing to look at it and learn from it, you can really, you can achieve the goal you wanted to achieve in your divine plan very quickly.